Ardra. The Sanskrit word Ardra means moist, watery. Water has the capacity to transform a hard rock into soft soil. Always remember, the feminine is more powerful than the masculine. The soft is more powerful than the hard. The water is more powerful than the rock. The soft can always transform the hard. Love can always transform a person inside out. Love has the capacity to bring great transformation within a person who once was as good as a hard rock. The divine spiritual master Neem Karoli Baba says, "Love is the strongest medicine. It is more powerful than electricity." The very first sign of your transformation is when your eyes become wet, Ardra. When the first drop of tear flows from your eyes out of joy, out of self-realization. Tears of joy are like the raindrops pierced by sunbeams. It is said that tears are of two types, warm teardrops and cold teardrops. When tears flow out of pain, out of agony, out of sufferings, then the teardrops are warm. And when tears flow out of joy, out of happiness, out of gratitude, out of love, then the teardrops are cold. Ardra means wet. Ardra is the teardrop. The source and the reason for tears to flow is very subjective. But one thing is for sure, Ardra Nakshatra born natives cry a lot. And Ardra Rahu native don't just cry, but burst into tears. It is good to see tears flow through your eyes, however, they should be the tears of joy. The moment your eyes are filled with tears of joy, you have arrived. You are here and now. You have suddenly transformed from a hard rock into a beautiful flowing water. And that's Ardra, the wet eyes, the person who has been through all the thick and thin moments of life, many struggles, many difficulties, many tragedies, has transformed this person into a beautiful flowing water. He is no more a dry arid desert. He has transformed into a beautiful oasis. Ardra is a beautiful nakshatra. It is the culmination point where the person has come to the stage of transformation. Your eyes become wet only when you have come to a certain self-realization. Tears start flowing from your eyes only when a certain awareness has dawned in your being. Crying is not a sign of weakness, but a sign that you have a heart which beats with love and compassion. Crying does not mean that a person is weak, but it means that a person has a heart. Master comes seeking the man, the woman who cry from the depth of their heart. Your heart can move the heavens. Your heart can move the mountains. Your heart is the only source that can bring the Buddha before you. Only a man of heart can cry. Only a woman of heart can cry. And their tears are real. And the real master always comes when tears flow from your eyes. And those tears have emerged from the depth of your heart. God loves a person who is not ashamed of his tears. Never be ashamed of your tears. Be proud that you are still natural. Be proud that you can express the inexpressible through your tears. Ardra is that teardrop, my fellows. It is not fake, it is real. The person born on Ardra indeed goes through many upheavals, and then a day comes when his sufferings lead him to the light of consciousness. And then the first drop of tear falls from his eyes. The first drop is Ardra, the stage of self realization, the culmination of knowledge, the culmination of events. And for an evolved soul, Ardra is the culmination of Shiva sadhana, culmination of deep penance. That is when the tears start flowing. That is when consciousness comes. That is when you become godly. Always identify the authenticity of a person on the basis of whether he can cry, whether tears can flow through his eyes, because those tears signify the state of his being. Those tears reflect that he is a man of heart, and a man of heart, a woman of heart, is always heard in the kingdom of God, in the court of the Divine Master. Your intellectualism, your sweet talk, your money, your properties, and your perfumes will not bring the Master before you. Never. Real perfume, real fragrance comes only through that person who is selfless. Ironically, we have majority of men and women who are using expensive perfumes, but still the smell of their selfishness remains. And only the Master can smell their selfishness. That is why there are some great saints who will just reject you the moment you are just 20 steps away from them, because they can smell your selfishness, and selfishness smells bad, very bad. It is only the voice of your heart, it is only the tears that flow from the depth of your heart that will move the Master. And the Master will come in search of you and heal you, bring light to your being, and will raise you to the higher altitudes of consciousness. When the Master holds your hand, you should know that you are in safe hands, and no matter how many storms come in your life, you are still going to be all right. A man, a woman who lives with deep compassion and unwavering faith in their Master always overcome the difficult moments of life. It is your trust that counts and your patience that keeps you going, no matter what. Ardra beings are faithful beings. Ardra is the Shiva Nakshatra. Lord Shiva's penance was culminated on the nakshatra of Ardra, and the joy, the bliss, the ultimate state of realization is expressed by Shiva through the teardrop that flows through his eyes. Being Shiva's nakshatra, Ardra is Shaiva by essence. It is not soft, it is Rudra. Rudra avatar. And Rudra is always dashing, dynamic, aggressive, fighter, justice seeker, and a risk taker. And when Rahu is in Ardra, they become invincible. Their enemies fear them because defeating a man or woman having Rahu in Ardra is indeed a very difficult task. Rahu in Ardra brings the Rudra avatar within them in the forefront. Right from childhood, these natives are difficult to handle. They are like the wind, the storm, the fire. Rahu in Ardra native is more focused on the matters of communication, relation with siblings. The native also loves adventures. Change in environment is a must for Rahu in Ardra natives. And so they keep traveling, short travels or long travels. To them, life is interesting as long as they keep moving, traveling, experiencing new places, new traditions, new cultures, and new people. People, yes, these natives wants more people around them, and that makes them a social animal. They like to have many friends and even try their level best to stay connected with all their family members. Probably very few may remember who is your uncle's cousin's cousin sister, but a Rahu in Ardra will always remember. They have excellent memory, and moreover, because they are fond of people, they always remember every face they meet. They have this special gift of remembering everybody, those who come in their life and also those who take an exit from their life. You can say that Rahu in Ardra native is indeed a walking directory of contacts and connections. When it is Ardra Rahu native, then you know that he or she is never going to forget your birthday. Ardra Rahu person is very intense by nature. If he finds a woman without whom he cannot imagine his life, then he gives up the one night stands. A real man gives up one night stands for a woman he can't stand one night without. Rahu Ardra native are extremely intense in their love relationships and also in the act of sex. At times, this intensity makes them possessive by nature, and the moment possessiveness takes over, love ceases to exist. Always remember, if you love a flower, don't pick it up. Because if you pick it up, it dies and it ceases to be what you love. So if you love a flower, let it be. Love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. Love can never possess. Love is giving freedom to the other. Love is an unconditional gift. It is not a bargain. The way of love is the way of no expectation. Love exists only when there is a total acceptance and no desire to change anything. Love brings many miseries to your relationship because the love that you know is based on physical, sexual relationship. You have known only that kind of love which happens through physical penetration. You haven't known the love that is beyond physical relationship. You haven't yet experienced the Buddha love, which is so pure, divine, and unconditional. As long as there is physical sex between you and your partner, the fights, the demands, the expectations will remain. It may be that now for a few days or months you are not having any physical sex with your partner, but still the penetration has happened in the past. It is like the antenna. Once it has caught the signal, then no matter, it always remains connected, attached. And Buddha says the root of suffering is attachment. That is why you all must know that love exists in various versions. From lowest version, that is physical sex love, to complete non-physical selfless love. Love is a hierarchy from the lowest rung to the highest, from sex to super consciousness. There are many layers, many planes of love. It all depends on you. If you are existing on the lowest rung, you will have a totally different idea of love than the person who is existing on the highest rung. Adolf Hitler will have one idea of love, Gautam Buddha another, and they will be diametrically opposite because they are two extremes. Rahu in Ardra man or woman is highly sexual by nature. To them, love is incomplete without sex, without expectations being met, without having a proper deal that says, if I love you, then you also should love me. In reality, love is not a deal, but people expect that if I love you, then you also should love me. People talk a lot about love. Couples compose many poems when they fall in love. But just ask, if one of the partner is unable to provide sexual satisfaction, is unable to provide comfort, then will the other partner stay for long? That is what the worldly love is at the lowest rung. Truth is hard, and I don't care whether it disturbs you, because the mind never wants to know the truth, though it always says, I want to know the truth. That is how the nature of the mind is, cunning, very cunning. It's funny how everybody considers honesty a virtue, yet no one wants to hear the truth. To hear the truth, you first have to be truthful to yourself. To hear the truth, you first have to remain open to change. And to hear the truth, you first have to learn to accept your mistake. The first step toward change is awareness. The second step is acceptance. Rahu Adra person finds it very difficult to accept his or her mistake. And so they keep fighting, arguing with others, trying to show them how the whole world is wrong and they are right. The best part that these natives play is the blame game. They just love to put blame on others, and that is how they go on missing the opportunity to learn, evolve, and mature in life. You can either blame everybody else, or you can take a look at yourself and determine where you can improve. Less evolved souls blame others. For them, putting blame on others is the easiest escape route. Evolved souls never blame others. They accept their mistake. And because they accept their mistake, they learn from their mistakes. And that is how every phase of life they keep growing. Because you all should understand that real growth is not about how much money you earn or how many cars you drive. Real growth is simply based on how much you as a person has evolved, how much awareness you have brought to your being, how much you have succeeded in expanding your consciousness. Rahu Adra native earns good money and good status in society, but fails miserably in experiencing the real growth, the growth within. Real growth is when you start checking and correcting yourself. Instead of blaming others, you take your power back by being responsible for your life. Like all other Rahu Nakshatras, Ardra Nakshatra brings a great deal of intellectualism to the native. These men and women are very much in their heads, highly logical beings. Their brain commands their heart, and that indeed becomes the root of all their problems and miseries. Always remember, intellectualism is the reason of miseries, and so don't be intellectual. Instead, be intelligent. Be intelligent. I don't mean by intelligence, be intellectual. Intellectuals are not necessarily intelligent people, and intelligent people are not necessarily intellectuals. Almost always the case is that the intellectual is only a pretender. By being intellectual, he is trying to convince himself and others that he is intelligent. Once it happened, 3 men were brought before the judge, and the first man said, "It is not my fault. I was walking and this guy." The judge interrupted and said, "Many times you have been in the court, and I don't want to waste time. You are fined $400. Next case, please." The next case was of the second man. Looking at him, the judge said, "You again? $800 fine. Next case, please." The next case was of the third man, and he quickly stood up and said, "I am guilty of stealing food, but my children were starving to death. I had no other option, although I accept my mistake." The judge said, "I liked your honesty, and because of it, I am giving you a break. Give this man $100 from police fund. Case dismissed. Next case, please." The next case was of a criminal, a die-hard criminal. But look what this criminal says. He stands up and says to the judge, "Sir, I am not going to lie to you. My children were also starving, and so I had to loot the bank." You see, this is how the mind plays the game. The criminal quickly understands that by showing off how honest he is, he too can slip out of the court. However, the third man was indeed honest, but this man was acting of being honest to feed your starving kids. Why you would loot a whole bank? But the criminal was just trying to act and gain some sympathy. And that is exactly how the mind is. And with Rahu in Ardra, it just becomes more cunning, more treacherous. Be aware of your mind. It is always trying ways and means, strategies, tactics to remain as it is. It can wear masks. It can become religious. It can go to church, to temple. It can read the Bible and the Vedas and still find the ways and means to remain itself. Rahu in Ardra can go either way. A total fake, hypocrite, or a very intense, realistic person. Depends on the placement of Rahu and the aspects it makes with other planets in the chart. However, the Rahu Ardra native miss to realize the true purpose of human life. They are so much focused on the outside that the inside is forgotten, simply ignored. Because of being extrovert and always focused on the outside, they earn money in abundance, gain high status in society, and yet they feel lost, totally lost. These natives therefore always believe, or rather feel, that their problem is caused by someone else and that makes them more miserable than they already are. Always remember, when you are focused outside and believe that your problem is caused by someone else rather than by your attachment to the story you're believing in the moment, then you are your own victim and the situation appears to be hopeless. These natives therefore feel that they are the victims, when in reality the truth is that they remain ignorant, insensitive, and in their illusions. These natives therefore are always found in the tight grip of their mind. When we are in the grip of the mind, we make ourselves and others miserable. Rahu, Ardra, mother-in-law or daughter-in-law, they are so much in the grip of their mind that the poor husband has to face daily quarrels between his wife and his mother. And imagine if the husband is also Rahu Ardra, then the whole house becomes a battlefield, or rather a jungle filled with wild animals. It is funny that people give long lectures on being human, but when they themselves become angry, it is the animal within them that comes out and not the human being. Ardra Nakshatra rules the eyes. Rahu in Ardra virtually makes the native a blind man who thinks that he is carrying a lamp in his hand. Reminds me of a beautiful story. There was a blind man, and he had come to meet his old friend, a wise friend. The wise friend said to the old man, "It is getting dark, and so I would like you to carry this lamp with you so that you reach your home safely." The blind man laughed and said, "I am a blind man. What difference it makes if there is a lamp with me or not? To me, day or night is same. Remember, I cannot see. I am a blind man." The wise friend said, "You cannot see, but when you carry this lamp, other people will be able to see you and they will not bump into you in the dark. So please take the lamp with you." The blind man accepted the lamp and set on his way back home. He must have hardly taken a few hundred steps when someone bumped into him. The blind man was surprised and he started laughing. He said to himself, "Seems the logic of my wise friend was wrong and I was right." The blind man asked the man who bumped into him, "Brother, can't you see there is a lamp in my hand? Are you also blind?" The man said, "I am not blind, but the lamp in your hands has gone out." This is the state, not only of Ardra Rahu natives, but the majority of human population. We think that we are holding a lamp, awareness, but the lamp has extinguished long back, and we are walking in the dark thinking that we are aware, imagining that we are intelligent. And that is how everybody is bumping into someone, because there is absolutely no awareness, no consciousness. The lamp is there, but it is a dead lamp with no light. It seems that though we have eyes, we remain blind, utterly blind. Being blind seems to be a characteristic of mankind, but a few people have held a lamp in their hands. A Buddha, a Mahavira, a Krishna, a Christ held a lamp in hope that even though we may be blind, the light would be visible and no one would collide with us. But every day we collide, and even then we are not aware that the lamp in our hands has perhaps gone out. Ardra Rahu brings more ignorance and illusions, and so the native assumes that he or she is carrying a lamp, but in reality, the lamp has gone out, and there is total darkness, and it is this darkness that brings many miseries to their life. Professionally, they do well, but on personal front, they fail in relationships. They fail in experiencing the peace, the bliss, the joy within. Eyes problems often occur since Adra rules the eyes. And Rahu in Adra either impacts the eyes negatively or the native is obsessed with his or her beautiful eyes. Rahu in Adra indeed gives a mesmerizing look to the eyes. Passion, intensity is seen through the eyes of these natives. Ardra Rahu natives are in general Shiva devotees. The Rudra within them is pulled towards the Maharudra, Lord Shiva, naturally. Rahu in Ardra is very much interested in advertising and announcements. These men and women do exceptionally well in the field of marketing, business development, advertising agencies. They also do well as creative copywriters, designers who always come up with crazy ideas, and they receive much appreciation for their out of box creative ideas. Rahu is exalted in Ardra Nakshatra, and so here Rahu is totally empowered to provide the results to the native in totality. Ardra falls between 6 degree to 20 degree in Gemini, and this indeed is the peak point of Rahu. It is simply a sign that the desire is exalted, meaning the native through many births and rebirths have managed to remain focused on a specific desire. If a soul remains focused on attaining his desire of becoming the head of the state, so that he can help people and society to grow, in other words, if the native or if the soul has been focusing on becoming a king or a prime minister, then someday, after going through many births and rebirth cycles, finally he attains his desire, becomes the prime minister. Our first prime minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, had a Rahu in Ardra Nakshatra. Rahu in Ardra is primarily driven by the placement and condition of Mercury and Rahu in the birth chart. Incidentally, when Rahu is exalted, Ketu is also exalted in the birth chart, because Ketu exalts in the sign of Sagittarius, while Rahu exalts in the sign of Gemini. In charts of evolved souls, it is a great sign of many great accomplishments in the past births as well as in current birth. As mentioned earlier, this Rahu Adra is excellent position for material prosperity and growth. Though on spiritual front, the person remains utterly poor. A fast-packed busy routine with many dealings to be signed, many deals to be made, many people to be contacted, many conversations to happen, many meetings, board meetings, personal meetings. This is how the life of a Rahu Adra native is. Always busy. Busyness is what they like because the mind is never turned inwards. The mind is always focused on the outside, and that brings gossips as well. Because who is saying what about me and who thinks what about me is always lurking in their mind. And so too many gossips and intrigues and plots and politics is how the Ardra Rahu native is always attached to. Ardra Rahu native is always busy and loves to make others also busy. And there is an old saying that one who becomes busy always earns good money. Because more work, more connections means more inflow of money. It is good to remain busy provided you are adding value to others' life or your own life. Keep busy, it's the cheapest kind of medicine there is. Rahu Ardra is good at keeping themselves busy round the clock. Ardra Rahu native is the perfect choice for getting your job done because he is a busy man. If you want to get something done, give it to a busy man. It is good to remain busy, but Rahu never stops. Rahu makes these natives obsessed of remaining busy. By chance, if they lose their job or business goes down, then these fellows feel restless. And many also commit suicide or take to drugs or alcohol because they are too focused on the outside, and the outside can never be controlled. You can never control the outside situations. The more you try to control situations, the more you try to control people, the more you will feel frustrated. Always remember, you can never control other people. You can only control yourself. And so the takeaway lesson for Rahu in Ardra people is, do not try to control others. Do not become so busy that you forget to enjoy the little moments of your life. Spend some time with yourself. Start turning inwards. Meditate every day. Chant the name of the Lord. You may have earned good money, but now it is time to earn peace, joy, and bliss. And that is possible only when you start meditating. Meditate. To start your bike, you have to keep kicking multiple times until the golden moment comes when the bike starts, and then it never stops. You enjoy the ride, you experience the many wonderful moments as your spiritual journey progresses. Meditation is just like that. In the beginning, you will have to keep trying very hard. Then slowly, the meditation will kickstart. And then there is no turning back. The road is clear and you are ready for the ride. Nelson Mandela shares the same message with his wife, Winnie Mandela. In his letter, Nelson Mandela writes to his wife, Winnie Mandela, "At least if for nothing else, the prison cell gives you the opportunity to look daily into your entire conduct, to overcome the bad and develop whatever is good in you. Regular meditation, say about 15 minutes a day before you turn in, can be very fruitful in this regard." These are the words written by Nelson Mandela to his wife Winnie Mandela, who was imprisoned. However, the last words that Nelson Mandela writes to his wife are so beautiful that they should be written in gold. Nelson Mandela writes, "Never forget that a saint is a sinner who keeps on trying." How beautiful and deep are these words. Never forget that a saint is a sinner who keeps on trying. And this is the whole message to all of you, that keep trying and never give up. The money, the status, the properties and all the struggles that you undertake goes down the drain if you never spend time with that one person You turn inwards, start meditating.